Hey guys, it's Brian again. Today we are just going to do something a little informal. We're going to talk about the things people really say to artists. What I would say most artists hear day in and day out, whether they're maybe they're hearing it on their social media. When they post something, some of their art, or maybe they get a comment on their, I don't know, their website, or maybe you're selling your art somewhere at a vendor fair, or an event, or maybe a con of some type. We've all heard these questions, and I got to say, like, most of these questions, and I don't mean to sound ungrateful. It's nice for someone to ask you a question, but I think most of us do not like these questions, and I think most of the time, like, I don't think any of these people mean anything personally by asking these questions, because I think they just simply want to know. But it's one of those things that sometimes the question is kind of, it's a little underhanded. Sometimes maybe they might not feel that way, and I'll give you the examples. I have 12, no, I have 13, I have 15 questions here that I want to go through, and we're going to talk about them, and why I feel the way I feel about them. And maybe if you artists are watching this, you do too, and maybe someone who isn't an artist but just has an interest in it, and never watches this one day. Try your best not to ask these questions, or at least find a better way to uh, to say them. Try to rephrase them a little bit better. Okay, well, we're gonna get into it, and I just want to apologize in advance. My voice is a little coarse. I came down with a little something. Last week, so it's just kind of sticking with me. So. Sorry about that. I should be back to normal in the next week or two, hopefully. At least my voice will. So the first question is, can you design my logo? I would say most artists get this. Can you design my logo? So the thing about a logo design, to be a designer, that is different from someone who draws portraits, or that is someone who is different from that does tattoos, designs tattoos, or that it's designing logos is different from being a painter. Designing logos is different from being a concept artist, right? It's designing logos is different from doing comic books, drawing comic books. They're all different art styles. Now, just because you say you're an artist, it doesn't mean you can draw every type of thing. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean you can do everything. It doesn't mean you care to do everything. It's like asking an architect. Can you design this? It's kind of silly, and I hate to come off so strong there, but I mean, it is like it's like going to an architect, whether he's famous or not. It is your job to look at what they do. Do you see? And like, usually you'll go to their page. Did you ever see a logo on their page? You know what I mean? And this is not trying to be rude. This is just, artists are one of those people that kind of, and don't get me wrong, there's other industries that have to deal with these kind of questions. It's like, what are you talking about? This is what I do. Why would I do that? But it's one of those things where it's like, if you go to an architect, you're like, oh, can you build me this type of building? It's like, did you not look at my work in my portfolio? Like, it's literally right here, in front of you, or it's on my website. That's how you got to see me in the first place. You're on my social media page, you're on my website, you're on my whatever, right? You see the type of work I do. Have you ever seen a logo? And I get it. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, they don't want to do the work. They don't want to do the research. They don't want to look into graphic designers. They just punch in graphic designer. You know what I mean? Or maybe they talk to someone. They ask the question first. Do you know any graphic designers? A person who does a logo, or they are a graphic designer. They simplify things to their absolute simplest form. Whereas I don't do that. I'm not a graphic designer. I don't care to do it. I don't enjoy it. It's not something I ever want to do ever again. And if I do want to do it, I do it for myself, and that's about it. It's just it's a all of these things that I just mentioned, all those types of artists, different artists, they are there. It's a different style. There's different fundamentals that go into these things. Now they may a lot of these fundamentals, a lot of these art fundamentals may overlap, and may you might have that in other art styles too, and other art forms, but it just doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? Like, so it is someone's job to look at your portfolio. It's your job, if you're not an artist, to look at an artist's portfolio and the type of work they do. And if you don't see any logos on there, guess what? Most likely they don't do logos. You know what I mean? Because they're not. And the reason why they're not showing that, an artist who's worth their salt and who's been doing it for a while, they know that if they start showing logos, what's going to happen? People are going to go to them for a logo design. And if you don't like doing that work, you're not going to post it. I've done a couple of logos and I don't really post them. I'll post them in my stories. Other than that, I won't post them in my actual feed, because people are going to start asking me to do that, and I can't stand doing them. I'll do them for like people, I enjoy, people I'm kind of doing a favor for. I'll still charge them, but I mean, I'm still, I'll do it for you. You know what I mean? Like, I think I got a little sense in logo design. I have studied design myself, not for too long, but I studied it myself, and so I know a little bit. But yeah, that's one of the things we don't like is don't ask me what kind of art I do when you already see what type of art I do. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of weird. Like, you don't ask like Wiener Schnitzel if they if they make Italian food. You just don't. I'm sorry, it is the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, you don't do that, and it's really silly. All right, the second question is, can you draw something without looking at it? Now, this question is one of those questions that's just, it seems a little underhanded. It's like, oh, I see you drawing a portrait with reference, or I see you using reference. And these are usually from non-artists, or artists who don't have the skill set that you do. You know what I mean? Like, they just don't. Maybe they have a different skill set, but they don't have the skill set you do. And they ask that, can you draw something without looking at it? Like, it's just the way they ask it. And it's just like, I can't. I'm one of those few people that can draw. I can't draw everything. That's not one artist in the history of time. Even Kim Jong-il cannot draw everything without looking at it. You know what I mean? His visual library just isn't that big. But that's why he does go, keep drawing the same things, because he does have a very large visual library. But I'm sorry, you won't ever like put one artist in front of me that can draw everything without looking at it. It's just your visual library would have to be vast. Your knowledge would have to be absolute. But I can draw a good amount of things, because I know my perspective, and I know my anatomy, so I can draw people and certain things and vehicles and stuff like that in perspective. And mind you, it's not perfect perspective, but very simple environments. But it's just one of those questions I don't enjoy. Can you draw something without looking at it? It depends. It depends. That's the question. It's just, but usually you hope it's from a good place. Maybe they're just curious. I don't know why they would want to be curious. Like, do you want me to draw you something for a commission? Just out of my head for no reason? Like, it's a weird question to get. You know what I mean? It's just one of those where they're gauging your skill. And it's like, why? You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna commission me and then ask me to draw something, then do that. But it's just, I don't know what that question, where that question comes from. It's a little bit underhanded. Can you draw something without looking at it? Well, yeah, it depends. But question 3 is, do you use the grid method to draw portraits? This is another one of those questions where I think mostly this can come from artists as well as non-artists. And that's do you use the grid method to draw portraits? They want to know. They want to know, because I think maybe they want to if they're an artist, they want to draw better portraits, and they want to see how you do it. Is it credible? Is it worth learning? When it comes to the grid method, if you're not aware of the grid method, I'll try to put an example, but I'll try to explain it really quick. So on your reference, you basically cut that reference up into a grid, like a bunch of cubes, bunch of even cubes, parallel cubes. They're all the same size, and you cut up that whole reference image into a bunch of cubes, so it becomes digestible. You can actually look at it and see. And so what happens is you do the same thing, those same size of those cubes, on your paper that you're going to be drawing that from that reference. So and then you'll look at your reference, and each cube you'll draw the shape of, usually like a portrait or something like that, or a vehicle. You'll draw the shape in each one of those cubes, and it's digestible. You don't have to it's all broken down for you. Okay, now I got to draw this shape into this square to the corresponding square from my reference. You're just copying it from then there. So I started with the grid reference, but I don't enjoy it. I do like site size. If you don't know what site size is, look up the bar drawing method, or look up site size drawing method. The third question is, the fourth question is, how's your art going? It's one of those things when you catch up with someone, like, how's your art going? Like, and mind you, they haven't been paying attention to your art in the first place if they have to ask that. You know what I mean? Like, usually everyone's pretty good. I mean, usually artists are pretty good about, being on their social media. You have no choice but to do that when you're an artist. You have to be active all the time. We all know this. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what industry you're at. You have to be active, right? Especially if it's your business page or whatever it is, your website. So that means they're not paying attention to you. They're not paying attention to what you're doing. They're not paying attention to your social media or whatever like that. And I, get it. They're busy and this and that. But it's like, if you don't care about me that much, and maybe you're not liking my images or whatever like that, so the algorithm isn't pushing my stuff to you, you don't care. You know what I mean? Like, at this day and age, like, that's kind of how the algorithm works. Like, if you are liking my stuff, if you enjoy it, then great. I mean, yeah, can you really care about the person and then not like their art? Yeah, that's fair to say. But yeah, I mean, but for the most part, like, that's fair. You cannot like their art and still like the person. But if you really cared about me, you would just do it just for the sake of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's like they don't really care in the first place. Like, how's your art going? You don't care. Like, don't ask. I hate to sound so like negative, but come on, let's be honest. Like, if you were in the same position and so it was like, how's your art going? And like, if you don't know me that well, you don't have to ask that question. You know what I mean? Like, you don't care. Like, and you don't have to care. It's that's your right. But if it's someone that that generally cares for you, like, maybe it is sincere and they do want to know, like, how's your art going? Like, what's going on, man? Like, I really want to know, like, where you at, man? Like, just kind of, I want to know where your journey's going. Maybe that's what they want to know. They want to know where, where the future is, where's it going? That kind of goes into one of the other questions, later questions in the list. But I think a lot of times artists don't like it because it's like, dude, like, I told you last, 6 months ago what was up with my art. You know what I mean? Like, what was going to be the future of it. I'm still there. Like, it's going to take time. You know what I mean? Like, let's calm our heels, or cool our jets, or whatever it is. It's going. It's still going. You know what I mean? Like, here's where I'm at. Like, you just hope that the question is sincere. But I think a lot of us, sometimes it's like those things where it's like, I'm going to stay quiet about what I'm doing right now. Some people just want to be quiet about their journey, and then for the most part, they're going to just wait till that, whatever they're going for happens, and then they're going to announce it, because you will get those questions. So, and sometimes people like ask though, because they don't know where it's going, So, yeah, that's another one where it's like, I don't know. It better sound sincere, and there better be a good reason why you don't know what I'm doing already. You know what I mean? Like, and if you're not that close to me, then why do you even care about my art? Like, so, yeah, that's one. So the fifth one is, the fifth one is the one that a lot of artists get. Oh my gosh. And it's funny because I am a tattoo apprentice right now. And so it's a little ironic because, and I got to say, before about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, I had no intention of doing tattoos. I wasn't, I wanted more tattoos, but I wasn't the biggest fan of them at first. And I think because I was like scared of needles and what it took. Because if you know what it takes to tattoo someone, you can't be afraid to stab someone thousands of times, over hours. Like it's just something you have to get used to. Anyway, the fifth question is or the fifth thing that people say to artists is you should do tattoos. I mean, if you're an artist and you do certain style, especially, they are going to tell you that. But like, you know what? Like, because, but the reason why the question comes off like, well, again, like one of those like underhanded, like I know better than you do. I know better than you do. I I'm a police officer, but I know better than you what you should be doing with your art. You're missing it. They're seeing your stuff at a vendor fair, and it's like, you shouldn't be doing this. This is the wrong move. I don't care what you're doing with it. I don't care if you're just doing this to pay your bills or whatever like that. You know what you should be doing? You should be doing tattoos. It just comes off as that, like, you know better than me, like what I should be doing. And I got it all the time before I actually did decide that I did want to do tattoos, and I fell in love with the culture and the history of tattoos. Yeah, it's one of those you should do. You should do tattoos. This is what, this is coming out of my head. You should really not take this with a grain of salt, You should really listen to me. You should do tattoos. And it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, all right, man. Yeah, I should. But I think sometimes people are like, they do, and again, like I want to see both sides. Like that's kind of like the negative side, but the positive side, it's like, you would really do great doing tattoos. I see the style that you do. You would design really cool tattoos. So yeah, you just never know where someone's coming from, and I think it's. I may sound a little jaded, but that's because I am, because being an artist in the art industry, and some people will say, "Oh, it's not the city you're in," and this and that. I've heard it. I've seen memes on it, and if like you posted about this, sorry, but I'm gonna knock your meme that you posted. It's you. It's all your fault. It's the reason why you're not succeeding. That's not. I'm sorry. That's just not true. You know what I mean? Like there are some times where you can blame some people and you can blame your city. I think a lot of people, depending on your city, like if you lived in other parts of the country that are a little bit more open-minded and a little bit more, I don't want to say culture, but just a little artsy, you know what I mean? Like they're more in tune with like certain pop culture or whatever it is you do. That's kind of more of that city's flavor. And that's just what it is. Like we know there's different cultures in different cities, and you would have to lie and say there weren't different cultures in different cities, and we just know that's not true. There is. So yeah, you would do better in different cities, and it isn't you always. You know what I mean? It is where you are. I mean, why do you think people? Oh yeah, man, I would have blew up. I would have blew up in Idaho, no matter what. You know what I mean? Instead of going to New York, it's just silly. It is the city. Sometimes it is where you are. Like to say that it's just you is just silly. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna blow up in Idaho. You'd have a better chance in New York. Let's just be honest. So anyway, I digress. Yeah, so you should do tattoos. I ended up doing it. Some of them were right, and with a lot of these questions, sometimes they are right, but I'm going to tell you, most times they are not. And I made that decision on myself. And once I started, found out that I needed to do tattoos, that I wanted to. I had to learn so much over years. I had to do so. You can't just like make a decision like, oh, I want to be a concept artist. There's so many fundamentals that you have to go do and learn over years in order to be good enough to want to do that. So you can't just like say, oh, you should do this. Well, it's going to take me another few years. Gosh, I wish I would have thought of that. The sixth question is, did you go to art school? That's one of those ones where it's like, I think if I would ever ask that question, I'd want to know, like, hey, where did this person learn how to do this? Did they do it on their own? Were they self-taught? Me personally, I never went to any art school. I never went to any art center or art community. Or, I wasn't part of any art community for the most part. I didn't learn from anyone, only through books, through study. Lots of studying, lots of years of studying, and lots of online tutorials, a lot of paid tutorials, a lot of free tutorials, just you name it. I mean, reading books that were out of print that I had to get on PDF, just so much stuff. So I always tell them that, like, no, I didn't go to any art school. Like, if you really want something, you don't have to, unless you have to because of the job you do. You have to go through those avenues. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to go to art school. With art, you don't have to go to any school. You can just learn it on your own. What speaks is your portfolio. So you're always going to get a job with your portfolio. For the most part, still in this industry, it's just not required to go to any type of school. You don't need any type of nothing. You just your portfolio. Can you or can you do it? Can you not or can you do it? I always tell them I didn't go to art school, but I think a lot of artists do not like that question sometimes. I don't know why. Like I don't mind it. I like saying that I didn't go to art school because I did it on my own, and I'm very proud of that. Seventh question is, so where's this whole art thing going? And it's the way it's posed. Like, where's this art thing going? Like, I don't know. Like, you're still here. Like, where's your nice car, or where's your, you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing? Like, what's the end goal? Like, they need to know. Like, you need to tell them. You need to sell them on what you're doing and where it's going. You know what I mean? That's where that question kind of comes to me. Like where's the whole art thing going? It's like, where's your whatever the heck you're doing going? Like, I never thought to ask that. Like, who asks that? Where's this whole architecture thing going? Where's this whole nursing thing going? You know what I mean? Where's this whole police officer thing going? Where's this whole accountant thing going? You know what I mean? Like, no one does that to other, like, industries. Where's this whole construction worker thing going? Like, it's so underhanded. Where's this art thing going? Like, what do I need? Like you need to answer to them. Like, that's just one of those things where it's like, who are you to even ask me that, man? Like, if someone ever asks me that, like, I'm not gonna respond in kind. Like, because I'm just like, why would you ever? You wouldn't ask anyone else that. You know what I mean? It's just really, really silly. You don't even ask someone who works at a fast food place, like, where's this whole, like, fast food place going? Like, that's just silly. Like, I don't, it's not okay. I don't even care if your dad or your mom asked it. Like, don't. You know what I mean? Like, I want to do this. I want to do this type of art, whatever type of art you're doing, just because there's so many. And that's it. Like, don't ever ask that question. Like, don't ever ask an artist, like, where's this art thing going? It's just rude. Like, there's nothing. Find a better way to phrase it. You know what I mean? And it's not my job to tell you how to, how to phrase it, but that's just, never ask an art, like, because you don't ask anyone else that in any other industry or field of where this whole thing is going. Like, it's just rude. Where's this law school thing going? Like, what do you think? You know what I mean? Like, obviously it's going to something where I have to do art. 11th question is, this is one of my favorite questions, because stickers are hot. Stickers blew up in the last, like, stickers have always been hot. Stickers, since they've been made, they've always been hot. But I'm saying right now, like, they just kind of blew up, where it's been kind of, I think it's been easy to get them through different things like Sticker app, and there's a lot of other avenues and websites you can order them off of. You can make them yourselves through certain ways. I don't do it. It's pretty costly, and it's costly to make them as well. And you have to justify making a certain amount of money, like, or at least to justify making the stickers, you have to sell a good amount. And yes, you can make a profit, but it's very small profit. And if you have the capital to buy all of your stickers for all of your prints, sticker prints of your versions of your prints, it can be. I don't want to say it can be too lucrative, but it gets people to come to your table, and it's like, oh, see what they got, It's one of those things where sometimes you have to make a loss in order to make a gain. A lot of stores do it. Do you have an art studio? this is one of those ones where someone's just totally naive to the whole art community and art world and how things are. Like, oh, you're an artist, or maybe you're a fine artist. That means you have an art studio. It's like, no, I do it out of my home where I live. I do it in this room, or I do it in my living room. I do most of my art on my couch, to be honest. Like, I do most of my art on my couch. I don't have a studio, never had a studio, don't ever want a studio. My studio is where I live. Like, I don't care to be a part of, like, I feel like I am a part of the art community. I have a lot of artists that I look up to, a lot of artists that I follow, a lot of artists that I enjoy their work, and I feel relatively close to them. I can call them I don't want to say they're close friends, but I could call them the friends. They're friendly to me, I'm friendly to them. And I, their work inspires me. So, the city that I live in, I feel I am part of the art community, and I feel that they feel that I am a part of the art community too. So, but it's like, I'm not going to have an art studio. I don't want. There is a very nice art studio in the city, or at least, it has a lot of great artists there in that studio. And I don't know how close the art community is within that studio. Some are closer than others, but it's not my thing. I don't care to be in an art studio. It's never, like, I'm not the most social person. So it's like, I just want to go and do my thing and focus on my thing. And that's how I work. That's how I work best. So yeah, when they ask that, it's just like, they just want to know, like, where do you work from? They want to ask more questions. It's just a starting question. This is another one of those things where it's like, they know better. You should put your art on shirts. Yeah, maybe this, maybe that, but I think it's like a logo design. Not every logo design style is going to work for, if you did a logo design for a beauty supply shop and you did it, you couldn't do that in the same style for the barbecue place, down the street, like in that same style you did for the beauty. Maybe you could, maybe you can get away with it, but I'm saying 9 times out of 10, probably, I'm picking that out of my head, but you couldn't. You're going to use a different logo, you're going to use a different style, you're going to use a different font, or different typeface, a different color, you're just going to use a different style. And that goes with what goes on clothes. Not everything is going to go on clothes. And again, maybe some people might disagree, but that the way I drew that, the composition, that just wouldn't work on a shirt. I'd have to take this out, I'd have to take that out, and maybe it might work on a shirt. But people just know so much. They know what would sell, they know what would work. Like, everyone is just a genius in their own head. You know what I mean? Like, I sometimes believe the same thing about myself, but we all know it's not true. It's less true than we believe. Let's say that. But maybe you are pretty gosh darn smart. But yeah, you should put your art on shirts. Like, I think that was like, you do better than bringing just these small prints, large prints, and the stuff that you're already doing on shirts, which, because I am doing some shirts, but it's not necessarily my art that I usually do. It's a little different. Anyway, yeah, so you should put your art on shirts. Like, they know better. It's like, all these questions are just a little underhand. A lot of them are not only questions, but things that people just post to you, or the statements that they make. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, and just talking about it, and just understand that if you're an artist, you're never gonna stop hearing these ever until the day you die, and decide to answer them or not answer them as you please. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. It was quite long, probably my longest video, but hopefully someone watches it and enjoys it. I'll see you guys next time. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.